All right, we are now connected to being live on YouTube, and I'll drop a link in there as soon as one is generated, which should be very quickly.
Oh, what am I looking for? Hmm.
Called has a voicemail box that is
So do you think I should just start or should we wait till 3 o'clock?
Well, I know people are still coming in through the webinar right now, so
Okay,
maybe
so let's give them a few more minutes.
yeah, we'll give them a few more minutes. We mostly just want to start with that YouTube link to get a link available
Right.
for folks.
So people can look at me.
Yes.
They're looking for Jeannie and they're finding me. That's not good. But hey,
And if anyone else, yeah, Sue, if you see people in the attendees who you think might like to come up with you, we can easily pop them up into panelists. So if you see anybody or if someone wants to raise their hand and say anything, it's easy to give voice to folks
yes.
or to step up onto the stage with Sue here.
Well, actually, we could see if Jeanette wants to. Jeanette has knew Jeannie for a long time.
Jeanette, go ahead and click on raise your hand if you would like to step up there with Sue. If you don't, we'll just assume you'd rather stay in the attendees. Either way is fine. Oh, Jeanette would like to. Okay, Jeanette, you're getting promoted. Okay, Sue, it's just about time. I think you could go ahead and start if you'd like to.
Okay, let's see. I'm Sue Hilton, and I knew Jeannie primarily through the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, and uh, I met her many years ago, but when our branch started, she started coming to meetings, and then I ran into her at various places because she was everywhere, and she said she wanted to come to meetings, so we started meeting where she could come. So that was great. And as I'm sure most of you know, I'm sure most of you here know who Jene McCovey was. She was a hero to many of us. Grew up in Hoopa, born and raised in Hoopa, though she's actually from the Klamath River. Um, let's see, I'm just going to say, in my young life, I chose to walk for 5 of my relatives who aren't here. 2 of them were small babies who failed to thrive due to exposure of aerial spraying of herbicides 2,4,5-T and Agent Orange, and 3 of my cousins spontaneously aborted their babies from exposure to the herbicides. They would have been the same age as my daughter Daisy Etta, who is 42 years old, said Jeannie in a 2018 interview. Jeannie was a mentor and ally to many. This is the epic bio. She traveled near and far to share her prayers and wisdom on behalf of the 4-legged ones, the 2-legged ones, the finned ones, and the 1-legged ones, the trees. Jeannie trained with the Smithsonian Institute, the traditional Circle of Native American Youth and Elders, presented at the at the United Nations Fourth World Conference on Women in Beijing in 1995, and she's given workshops and taught on Indigenous and environmental issues from pesticides, water quality, Klamath dams, Indigenous hunting and fishing rights, and of course, war. That's why we know her in Wealth. In 2014, Jene was honored by the Women's Intercultural Network with the Circle of Courage Award for being a mover and shaker. And in 2018, she was honored with the Environmental Protection Information Center's Semper Virens Lifetime Achievement Award for dedication to environmental activism. Wherever there was a threat, Jene was there on the forefront, supporting, speaking, and representing people, places, and wildlife to make our community and the world a better, more conscientious place. We are grateful for the time we shared with Jene and know her legacy will live on through the inspiration that she gave to all of us who she touched with her words, compassion, and tenacity. And hopefully her daughter Daisy will show up and teach us how to pray. But for the moment, we have some slides and a recording of an interview done by someone from Epic when she got the award.
Okay, we'll start that now.
You know, the groups you're involved with, things of that nature.
Well, I was born in Hoopa, Indian Reservation, on August 11th, 1951. We came from Klamath to bring me up to the Indian hospital there. At that time, the Klamath at the mouth had 3 canneries, and my folks wanted to fish for the winter and food and that sort of thing. And so they asked my aunt if she would take me and take baby while they earned money. So inadvertently, I ended up being raised in Hoopa with a Hoopa grandma and a Wintun grandpa. My humble beginnings. And I think I became an activist in the 70s when they had aerial spraying along the river, I guess all over. It was a best management practice. The U.S. Forest Service came over to California Board of Forestry to get rules and forest practices for the United States, and California had the most rules there were. I was there at that time. I came from the American Indian Law School on a scholarship for 4 weeks at the U.S. EPA, and yeah, that's when it became a best management practice for the United States, not just California, but it came from here. And at that time, they were spraying 2,4,5-T in Agent Orange in the forest with airplanes. And inadvertently, there were non-target species because it would drift. And Margaret Keating, Jack Norton, Witch Poos, schools were all sprayed, with Orleans. And that's where I lost 5 of my relatives. 2 of them were babies, and they failed to thrive, and they were marked as crib deaths, but they were sickly and they failed to thrive, and they passed. And then 3 of my cousins spontaneously aborted. When you're sprayed with herbicides, the herbicides mimic human hormones, and they work on the the growth oxums of the plants, and so it jumbles them up. So when the cells' inner sides line up to separate, they're mixed. They arborate, and instead of lining up straight in sequence, they jumble around, and so then they make 2 jumbled around cells, and those two jumble around cells make 4. And so the mother is growing a baby, or is growing genetic material, but it becomes a tumor and it finally aborts. And so that's 5 of my relatives, and the babies are the same age, or would be the same age as my daughter Daisietta. And so I want for 5 of my relatives that are here.
Wow.
That started it.
It's an amazing story. I can't believe that the timber companies were spraying those horrible toxins throughout the communities, on schools, affecting water supplies, and the effects of that were so many people and lives were lost. It's really horrifying.
The thing is that United States companies can sell that still in foreign countries. They're pretty much on it now, but it still happens.
Right. And I know from the history of EPIC, EPIC was formed about 41 years ago in 1977, and EPIC was formed because a group of neighborhood citizens came together and tried to put an end to aerial herbicide spraying. I know that EPIC teamed up with groups like CATS, the Californians for Alternative to Toxics. And so, it's interesting because your story and your history is parallel with, the story and history of EPIC and how EPIC came to be, and kind of spurred that activism in a lot of people, including you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been involved with CATS for a long time.
Well, it's good to see everybody here. We're going to keep this rally moving at a really fast clip so that we have time to hike up to the hill and come back down before it gets dark. But we've got a great program lined up here. When we talk about respect for the forest and respect for other species, of course, part of that is respect for the first people who were here as well. Please welcome our first speaker, Jene McCovey from Native American Coalition for Headwaters.
It's an honor to be here to open up this rally. It's an honor to be alive today. And at this time, I'd like to be thankful for that, and thankful for the people who have come here to commemorate the young woman who has been up in the tree for over a year. And I'd like to commemorate those other folks who have been in tree sits, who have lost their life for this forest, for the creatures of the forest, and for the future generations to enjoy the life and the beauty that the redwoods have to offer. They told me that I should be brief, but what I say and what I need to say is a long story. To save the last remaining old-growth redwoods, period. With that thought, I would like to share a story because I've been asked to share this story. It's a myth from a long time ago from my Yurok people. At this time, I would like to acknowledge the natives that were from this area, the Wiyot, the Lasik, the Nangadal, the Sinkyon, the Wailaki, the Yuki. They all traveled in the headwaters. And because of their decimation and their acculturation, they may not be here. But in spirit, there are many, many Native Americans that are watching this issue and pray for this keeping. A long time ago, up by Freshwater Lagoon, there was a little tree. And this little tree heard this sound in the forest. And the sound made the little tree so happy. And the little tree just wondered, what was that? And then he saw humans come by. And the humans leaned over and said something to someone else, and the other human laughed. And that was the sound that Little Tree had heard, and that had made Little Tree feel so good. So he asked Creator, says, Creator, I want to laugh and be like people. And the Creator knew that this was a true wish of Little Tree, and knew that it was a good thing. And so he gave Little Tree a song to sing. In a way, 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 in a way. So Little Tree sang and sang, and pretty soon it was no longer so little. He could look above the other trees, and he could see the humans coming from way around the lagoon. And he would anticipate and wait until the people got closer, and he knew that sure enough they would be laughing, and he would wait for that. And they would laugh, and that would make Little Tree so good, feel so happy. And he would sing, in a way, in a way, in a way. So pretty soon the tree was such a big tree, he could see the elk up on the ridge, and the whales out in the ocean, and the surfish on the sea. And one day the tree gave up. The tree gave up and died, fell over. There was a big crash in the forest, and a vibration of the shaking of the tree fallen. And the tree was no more. And the people came by, and they seen this great big redwood tree. And they thanked the Creator. They were so happy. They cut the tree in half, and they started to whittle the tree out. And they burnt the tree, and they whittled some more, and they carved a redwood canoe. And the Creator told the people that whenever you carve a redwood Yurok canoe, to be sure to carve a heart, because the tree had great perseverance, and the tree had great courage, and the tree had wonderful wishes to laugh and be with people. So whenever our Yurok people carve a redwood canoe, we always have a lump in the middle that signifies the heart and the spirit of the tree. So when we travel along the river, which was our roadway, and when we fish along the river, that we were known to never be alone, that we always had the spirit of the redwood tree with us. That's my story. In a way, 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 in a way. As a Native American coalition, we as Native Americans are riparian. We have our rights established along the rivers. We have been fishers for a long, long time. The keeping of the forest where it stands, a keeping of the streams in their pristine state, a keeping of the animals in the forest is what we stand for. I say a prayer at this time. All of us come from someplace. All of us are here to stand for those who cannot speak. The trees, the animals, the water, and the wind and its whispers. We travel through our hair, travels through wherever we come from. The four winds. At this time, I'll say a short prayer. And if we would, let's please face to the east. Face the rising sun with a new day, with an open mind and an open heart. Leave the ill behind you. Face south, those things that you have learned and the wisdom you walk with. Pray to the spirits of the south that you walk in wisdom. Turn to the west with spirituality in your heart. Know that you are human, that you can pray for those things that are good and beautiful. Know that those who have gone on before you behoove you to be spiritual, to teach those who come behind us, that we may have the life and the planet to offer them in the generations to come. Face to the north. There you have the healing spirit, the spirit that rejuvenates, that cleanses. Look above you to the spirits who have gone on before us. Remember them. Remember the sacred places. It's what Creator sat here for us to connect with. And in the Yurok way, in our way, and the way that the person who taught me how to pray is to Dr. Rock, the boss, that connect us to all those and all those things that our prayers ask for. At this time, in unison, we will be listening to many people say many things. In a good way, we thank those who have come here. We pray that the message that we take away will help us in our effort to help those who cannot speak. In this world of humans, we're thankful to be alive. We're thankful for the ability to pray. We're thankful for the world that we walk on and for the universe that we swirl around in. That's enough. Oh.
Gotta get people off here.
So I want to just, on behalf of Wen, offer her the Circle of Courage Word. We met in Beijing, in Wairau in 1995, and traveled many different places, very, very remote and far away and very close. And she's been working for her entire life, really, as an environmentalist, as Indigenous people. You know, the air, the water, the sky, the earth are all sacred to us. And so in honor of all of her life's work, that you have always been in this circle of strong women, and you have strong children, and everybody really here in this room is part of this circle. So thank you so much for your devotion.
Yeehaw! I am so honored. I am so honored. I've been on 3 national disabled conferences. I've been a member of CATS, Californians for Alternatives to Toxics. I walk for 5 of my relatives that aren't here. In the 70s, the U.S. Forest Service aerial sprayed 2,4,5-T and Agent Orange on the forest. And so 2 of my baby cousins passed. They were not crib deaths, they failed to thrive being sprayed. And 3 of my cousins spontaneously aborted. And so the herbicide works on the oxum, which is the growth hormone of the plant. And so it mimics human hormones. And so it can pass through our bodies as women at different stages. And I think this is why I'm here. Because of my daughter is 38, and these 5 children would have been 38 and 39. And so there's 5 of our little people that aren't here. And you need to know that when you use Roundup, when your neighbor uses Roundup, that it's 2,4-D, it's glyphosate, and it can pass through the human hormones. And so if I leave with anything, it's that the pharmaceutical companies and the chemical companies, the saccharin, or I don't know if it's saccharin, but one of the sweeteners that we use was a pesticide for ants. They wanted to get the little ants up to eat their pesticide, and that was the sugar. And so that's how we got sweetener into our diets. And it's all very connected, and it's just horrible. And at this point, it's almost unregulated. And so I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy to be alive. And I think one of the things that's happening now is that we're dealing with global warming. They've softened it to be climate change, and the trees have something to do with that. But it's TEK, traditional ecological knowledge. Native indigenous people of the Americas have had a long history. We're not Indians. We are cultural people who have knowledge from the ground up. Indigenous means we've never been displaced. And so part of that knowledge is they're seeking for us knowledge of how this came about, this change. And it's a very important thing. So this is a field that I will continue to work in and walk with you, make those connections that are just important for our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, because we have to have hope, and we have to be strong, and we have to have that fist in the air and be diligent in all that we do, and that is with love and kindness, because we got to stand together. Thank you.
So I want to just, on behalf of Wen, offer her the Circle of Courage Word. We met in Beijing, in Wairau in 1995, and traveled many different places, very, very remote and far away and very close. And she's been working for her entire life, really, as an environmentalist, as indigenous people, you know, the air, the water, the sky, the earth are all sacred to us. And so in honor of all of her life's work, that
here to be who you are. You chose your parents. You chose those folks that you chose in your family to be with you. When the redwood trees chose to leave Creator, when their spirits left the spirit world, they came here to be who they are. They have been here long, long before all of us. And they will be here long, long after us. Their lifespan is many, many, many decades. Centuries. As beings, they have a right to be. And this is what you folks are about. They have a right to be. If they are going to go through and cut up their roots, they will not thrive. When you look at our country, I mean Humboldt County, our country, our home. Some of us have a birthright here. Some of us, spirits grow here. And this is the message I have today. In a spiritual way, we are connected to those who have gone on before us. And we are connected to those who come after us. And as traditional people, we are keepers of the tradition. For you that stand here today, you are creating your tradition. You may be a protester of short term. You may be a protester of long term. But you are standing here today for the continuation of creation. You are standing here because you love life. You are standing here because you understand what beauty is in creation, in all things. Bless your heart. Bless your heart! I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a myth. And it has to deal with Tepa. Tepa was a little tree. Tepa heard in the forest.
One moment. We have one more to share. Just a second, please.
As we are brothers and sisters, and we must realize our connectivity, and that connectivity is we're connected to the trees. They chose to leave Creator to come here to be who they are. They chose to come here thousands of years ago to be who they are. And so with that in mind, they sequester, they take in the CO2, one of the greenhouse gases. They sequester that and they use it. They make sugars, they make food out of it. And then they expel it. The waste is oxygen. And so that's the message of connectivity, in that our oxygen comes from the trees. And when you look at maps of old time ago, the trees were everywhere. The trees aren't everywhere now. And we're on the Pacific coast, and the trees are a lot here. We don't have the old trees, and they are the ones that sequester the most CO2. And that's what we need to realize, how we're connected with the animals, with the water, with the air, and our fertile soil. We say and ask these prayers and these blessings in a good way. And so today, when we take time out to commemorate the passing of the Japanese people by virtue of the atomic bombs, it's a place in history. So it's like the Jewish people, they were a lesson. And they were a lesson like the buffalo. And the buffalo were a lesson like the rainforest. Is that to see what the rainforest happening, what happened to the buffalo, what happened to the Jewish people, what happened to the indigenous people across America. And still today, the indigenous people around the world, we are at odds with the lack of compassion, the lack of humanity. To recognize peace and harmony in your heart, you have to see it, you have to look for it, you have to sing for it, you have to pray for it. And when you walk from your prayer, when you walk back home, back off of the dance ground, you know how important you are dancing on the ground. So this year, 2020, when people are dying because of the pandemic or other ills, our prayer is big. Our prayer entails humanity and a better way to walk back to Creator. And so I have in front of me some wakpe. In the Hupa way, it's Makachakolin. In the Karuk way is Kishwuf. Bare root on the plains is a herb that Creator gave us and was handed down to us to burn, to purify your mind, to purify your body, your home, where you stand, where you worship, where you recognize your spiritual soul and your words that come out and speak is your spirit and your soul. And you share it into the physical. And so that's my gift today. And if I could sing a song, it would go like this. Enua, 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 enua. Enua, 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 enua. Enua, 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 enua. Enua, 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 enua. The song I sang is a brush dance song, a healing ceremony. And I would like to thank the Risen family for allowing me to use their song. Where we come from in extreme Northwest California, our people speak different languages, but we come from the same cultural area. So we have the brush dance, a healing ceremony. We have the white deerskin dance, and then we have the jump dance. We have the kick dance, which is a doctor dance, and then we have the flower dance, which is when we recognize a young woman into our community. So that's just, I ask
the dance leader, are we going to have a secret dance so that we can dance in because of the pandemic? And he didn't answer right away. But his answer was, we always dance. We always dance. That's what Creator put us here for His purpose, for our ascension, for our spirituality. And so, find the love in your heart. Find peace and harmony. You have to work at it. And when you get together with your people and you can laugh and be happy, and the joy in your heart is a good way to walk. Blessings. Walk cloud. Walk cloud. Walk cloud.
That's the final video presentation.
Did you want me to read some of the things in the chat, Sue? You're muted, Sue.
We can also let people talk. So we could have people raise their hands if they have something they want to say. And I'm thinking maybe we could be just showing the pictures again while we do that.
Yes, just 1 minute.
Rabbi Naomi, I see that your video is on. Do you want to speak?
I would be honored to, dear. Thank you, Sue. What a beautiful, magnificent tribute to Jene. Very touching. You know, I can think that I sat through so many meetings with her and didn't always get to hear her give over her wisdom like that. The selections you chose were just beautiful, so uplifting, so uplifting. Very beautiful. I'll sing for her words from the Hebrew Bible. In Hebrew, it's very short in Hebrew and then in English, a song to share back to her. I was very touched, of course, how she honored the Jewish people, and I didn't mind at all that she compared us with the buffalo for our suffering. I consider that an honor. Esaenai el Harim me'ayin yavo ezri mein Adonai ose shamayim va'aretz. I lift my eyes up to the hills. From where will my help come? My help will come from the one maker of earth, stars, moon, and sun. Thank you for calling on me, Sue. It's an honor to speak and to sing for Jene.
Thank you.
Sue, would you like me to call on people whose hands are raised?
Yes, please do.
C. Rain Marshall.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for hosting this. Jene is a very close friend of mine. She's more like a mother. I've known her since 1993, and she was a grandmother to my daughters. My dad was in the picture there, Lance Archambault. And my daughter Raven was.
So right now, this is Rain Marshall that's talking.
Thank
Yes. You. Can you still hear me, everyone?
Yes.
Okay. So I just wanted to share a few memories here, and I would turn my video on, but I don't know how. So that image that you see is my dad's carving that I just got back from Daisy that my dad had given Jene. It's a gourd carved with native design.
I'm so sorry, Rain, I accidentally muted you for a second. I did bring you up to panelist, though, so if you'd like to come up on video, you're welcome to. Sorry.
Can you see me or hear me?
We can hear you, and if you'd like to be seen, you're welcome to.
Okay, I don't know how to do that, but I will keep talking. So she came to my wedding in South Dakota. She was a big part of my wedding. She brought my dad from California 30 hours across the country in her van. And she sang at my wedding and offered a prayer and blessing. And Jene is just, it's so hard to put into words how special of a human being. That's me in the picture there on the right with the gray skirt and my daughter, Raven. That was in 2000. Some of the words I would use to describe Jene are regal. She's ubiquitous. She was in a good way, always wherever there was a fight or a cause for Mother Earth, for Indigenous rights, for women's rights, for disability rights, for injustice. She was always there. And I'm the same age as her daughter, and she has more energy than I do. She was always places sometimes I couldn't be at. She was so ambitious and curious and would just go to as many events and movements and protests as she could. I even saw her in the middle of a sandbar one time and was thinking, how did they get her out there? That was for the Redwoods, I think, Headwaters. She was a legal scholar. She loved talking about law. I went to law school and she was so proud of me, and we loved talking about federal Indian law together. She was a poet, beautiful poetry, an intellectual, very spiritual, a ceremonial person, always kept you grounded in the spirituality of life. And she was a good jewelry maker, even though she had a disability with her hands. There's my dad in that picture on the right, and Raven. She was able to make jewelry still, so we would sit there and bead together and necklaces. She would kind of direct how she wanted the colors to lay, and she would pick them out and the designs. She was a great cook, so she would direct people on what the ingredients should be, and I still remember her chicken soup was amazing. Art, she was an artist. She could draw. She was funny, such a great sense of humor. She was a good listener. She was a confidant for me and a mentor, someone that I could talk to about anything, family problems, anything. And she walked the talk. I mean, she's relentless in her advocacy and her ability to get places and to be a voice for those that didn't have a voice. She was beautiful inside and out, a great dresser. She really cared about all of her. She even had her clothes color coordinated. She always had beautiful scarves and matching accessories. She was always made up to the T. And so, Awak Jene, I love you, and thank you for being such a good role model for us and fighting for Mother Earth. And we'll all carry on all the lessons and wisdom that you gave to us. Thank you.
We also have Therese Scott. You're welcome to speak if you'd like.
Hi there. Oh, Rain, that was so beautiful. I'm I'm so glad that you spoke for your amazing, amazing auntie, and I'm so glad this is happening. Wow, Jeannie was my hero. I remember I was doing a training a few years ago, and we were supposed to talk about our hero, and I went into meditation. I was like, that's Jene McCovey. Absolutely, that's Jene. And I, you know, as all of us who know Jene, you just fall in love with her because you can't not fall in love with her. Anyway, one thing I wanted to share was, recently I was just helping Daisy clean out the last of Jeannie's stuff and taking a few boxes to recycle. And in one of the boxes, I found a bunch of her pencils. And any of you who know Jeannie well know that she did all of her activism with a pencil with packing tape taped to it as a handle. And she would just kind of slip those on her hands, and she would do all of her typing with pencil eraser heads. And we all know how much she did. So, gosh, Jeannie, I love you so much, and I'm so glad that some of Jeannie's relatives can be here. And thank you so much for doing this this little memorial. It's really beautiful, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with some friends. So some friends of Jeannie's. Thank you. I am complete, and as Jeannie would say, choo.
Would anyone else like to speak?
Hello. Hi. So this is just so terribly beautiful. Since I've only been here since 2016, I didn't know her long, but she showed up always. And I guess she was persistent in her presence on this earthly plane in showing up on how to have right relationship with everyone and everything. And I first saw her at an Arcata City Council meeting in which a lot of the community was showing up to support Charmaine Lawson regarding the death and injustice of not finding the killer of her son, David Josiah Lawson. And she sang a song that it pierced my heart then. And I don't feel like she's actually gone. I think she'll always be here with us, showing us the right way to be. And then the other more personal connection was at the International Women's Day celebration, the alternative to the Women's March in 2019. And I had baked a bunch of yams to feed people, and Jeannie took one of them and ate it, and I felt like I had fed an angel. So thank you all, and thank you for her relatives and all that you do for this earth. Thanks.
Bernadette, it says that I need to promote you to panelist so you can speak because of the version of Zoom you have. So you're going up to panelist. and you're welcome to speak if you'd like.
There we go. Hi. Um, I just want to thank everyone. Sorry. I was good until you said I can speak, and then I got all choked up. I want to thank everyone here. I'm seeing people's names, and I'm remembering faces. And I remember seeing all of you helping Jene at one time or the other. And I want to thank you for Jene. I feel like we helped Jene stay alive a lot longer than what maybe her body would have allowed her to. Jene was so full of life, and her body just kept giving up on her. But because of all the beautiful women in this community, we just kept rallying for her and pushing for her and doing for her. And Jene was always, she had so much to live for. She had so much fight in her. She had so much love in her that it was just like, I just, when I think about her now, I see how hard she struggled and how hard she hustled to stay alive, just so that she can do the work that she needed to do. And so I just really want to thank the women in this community. And there's men too, but mostly the women in this community that just selflessly went and did the grunt work for Jene. All the behind the scenes work that we've done for her. And whatever it took so that she can get that heart out, so she can get that voice out for the land and for the people. So Waklau for Jene. Oh.
Go ahead, Jeanette.
Oh, hi. I just wanted to say that I met Jene back at early 80s. And she was instrumental in so many things that I worked on and did. We invited her once during the Forest Defense Days. We invited her once to a women's camp down on the mouth of the Mattole. And, you know, she got a ride and she showed up, and all of a sudden we realized, how are we getting her to the campground? Women lined up and we took turns carrying her wheelchair all the way into the campground, and she sat and sang songs and told stories around our campfire that evening. She also came with me when I was trying to get people to come up and bless the ancient redwood trees that were on the chopping block up in Meelan. And she and Daisy came and honored the trees by burning sage and drumming for them and singing songs and praying. And so when I heard that she had walked on to the spirit world, I realized we've all got an awful lot of work to do, because she did an awful lot. For a woman that could not walk, she took her wheelchair everywhere. The last time I saw her was at Dakota Access Pipeline demonstration. And she stood for the earth. She stood for the humans that live on this earth. She stood for all living beings. And I'm so glad that I got to be her friend. Daisy, thank you so much for all you did for your mom. Did you hear me? I'm not even sure if anybody heard me. I think so.
We heard you. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Jeanette.
you're welcome. I'm sitting here crying. I'm sorry. It's just, she was such a beautiful soul.
Yes. Thank you, Jeanette.
You're welcome. Thank you guys for putting this on.
You've got 4 minutes.
Would anybody else like to speak from our attendees list? Go ahead, Nezzy.
Maggie.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Jene was, as everyone understands, very special. She had an amazing depth and felt her way through the world. She was a prayer warrior and understood pain deeply and the need for healing, and was able to bring others who maybe didn't feel so deeply into a realm of sanctity and peaceful prayer that I think had a great impact on many people, and times that we shared. I remember after they pushed people out of the Palco Marsh, there was the redwood log walk from the Pomos down all the way up the coast. And when it got here, friends from here, folks outside too, walked the log past Simpson timber and places where you could actually hear the wails of the cut timber. And we walked the Hikshari Trail and had a very memorable, peaceful, but very deeply painful ceremony, acknowledging how much pain had happened there and how much healing needed to happen. And somehow, with her ability to just be present and share with a belief in the magnanimity of what that can do, brought a lot of peacefulness and the belief that healing can happen for all the people who have on this peninsula gone through tremendous pain. So I'm glad to have been a friend and a compatriot. And I think that someone said already, we have a lot to do. Just being alive and moving forward, the reverence for all of life. So thank you, Jene, and what a wonderful memory we all have of her spirit and ability to call forward many things that we'll have to reach in and find on our own now.
So Jackie had a wonderful idea. This is one of those wonderful events that could keep going for a little while, and we have a special place designated for that in the lobby, which is a link to a Zoom meeting that people can continue to chat and talk a little longer. Jackie suggested maybe that would work out for this. We have an event starting at 4, so if Sue, if you'd like to bring any final thoughts, but we'd love to include the invitation to the lobby if that would be lovely for people.
I am so happy that everyone came and so happy to hear everyone's stories. And I hope we can, in fact, continue this in the lobby. And I hope that perhaps we can, the Playhouse folks can tell us how to do that.
Yes, that's just right at the front of zerotofierce.org. There is a link that says to the lobby, and it's a Zoom meeting instead of a webinar. So it's just it's more where everybody can see and hear each other easily. And so if you want to keep that conversation going, please, that space is open and available.
Okay, I will go there and maybe I'll see some of you there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon. And if you're staying for Lauren and Mariah Sarabia, that is coming up next with Philo. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Sue, for